one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. The opportunity of public would be present. We have then signed up. Just a reminder, if somebody desires to speak before the board, we ask them to please register in advance with the subject. And seeing that, we move on to item number 4, one of our favorite things, the Sandlot Pacer Award. This with Wagner, could you lead us through that, please?
Right. Yes, and I have, there's 4 nominees and 2 are here tonight. So I'm going to ask Mindy Hall and Pam Frank to come up here with me. And these ladies have done an amazing job enrolling 300 new Sandites.
Here.
Thank you.
And here, I'm going to read what Terry said about the nomination. I'll be part of it. It said in late July and early August, they had over 300 families come into the enrollment center to enroll new Sandites. These ladies are the first faces new families see, and they greet parents with a smile and a helpful spirit. They're willing to go above and beyond their normal job duties to ensure that paperwork is processed and completed in a timely manner. These ladies are dedicated to the students and families of Sand Springs schools, and I'm thrilled to nominate them for a Pacer Award. Come on up here, Kelly. I mean, the importance of first impressions, from friendliness to efficiency to just the personal experience. Absolutely.
Oh, no, I agree. These ladies, and you wouldn't believe the number of hours that they put in above and beyond their time. And something new walks in enrollment every day, a situation we've never seen before, and they always just handle it with such grace. So I make a lot of phone calls to Krista to go, I bet you've never heard this one before. But I couldn't do it without them, and we're short-staffed at enrollment right now, and Mindy's actually my special ed admin assistant, and she's housed over at enrollment right now because that's what they do. So very thankful for them, and also Bonnie and Nikki, who couldn't be here tonight. So
Good job, lady.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I would just add that friendly voice is super important when you go through the streamline of enrollment in our district right now. So if y'all are anything.
I just think how difficult, stressful it would be a new parent coming into the new school, and you've got to go get your kid enrolled.
Exactly.
And with uncertain times, stuff like that. So thank you for what you do. That's pretty special. 300 kids, that's a big deal. All right, that's the awkward time that we appreciate everyone coming. And if you came just for that, and that's okay. For the welcome, what else we do? Let's
Never gives up that.
Okay, cool. We will now move on to the fun part of our agenda. The discussion and review of instructional strategies in alignment with the district continuous strategic improvement plan goal. Ms. Turkey, could you please lead us through that?
And so Standout Successes newsletter went out, I believe, earlier this month. Thank you, Lisa Chittister. I got to call her out in the meeting because, as you know, she has taken over as our new communication coordinator and has done amazing. So the new look is because she's creative and has a skill set to do some things that none of us do. So yay for hosts. I hope you enjoyed that. It goes out to the community as well.
The booth go by itself.
Yes, it is by itself. That's the best part, I think. Now, going on though, test results, we do have the preliminary, just so you all know, that from the spring testing. Jay has taken on that role, as you know, the district testing coordinator. So in October, he'll be presenting that to you guys. We'll try to get that to you prior to the results. So in case you have questions, you can ask those. I was in a state superintendent advisory meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I just have to brag because our district tested 98% of all of our students in Sand Springs Public Schools, which I guess was an anomaly. So making those comparisons from district to district, I don't think everyone did quite as well as we did. And so the comment was made comparing apples to apples is going to be a little bit tougher this year, just because when you test all, as you very well know, you're getting a sampling of all the children versus just a section of children. So kind of anxious for that. In an email today said they're going to release them publicly September 30th. So you all will have your hands on them via an email prior to that. But we're having a chance to go over them with our team. We shared them with leadership. I think probably at this point, most of the principals have shared their data with their teachers just to kind of get an idea of, the next step. So that'll be coming out shortly. And then Coy Cavanis, I just need to mention him. He is a teacher at Clyde Boyd Middle School who's just amazing. He runs one of the LAFS programs. And so the Shop with the Cop program, we've touted him before as just really being a leader for promoting just goodness and character with his kids. He is finishing his administrator degree and certificate this year. He'll be done in May. And so we have elected to send him to what we call the PDLA. It's a leadership academy that was first originated with Dr. Ballard at OU Schusterman. So yes, it's OU, but it's in Tulsa program. Anyway, he's going to be doing that as an upcoming leader. So we try really hard to raise our own people and get them prepped for upcoming positions. And he's amazing. So I just wanted to share that with you all tonight. We are in the midst of trying to onboard 2 new virtual academy teachers. We are having success with one and haven't struggling getting applicants, frankly. So we're working on it. We have a plan in case we can't find another one, but I have to commend Brandy Roeder. She did step up and she's going to be handling 1st through 5th or K through 5th right now. We're working out the kind of early childhood piece, and just know that we're paying for that with our American Relief Plan COVID stimulus dollars. And then lastly, business forum was held last week with Charles Page High School and our business partners. We had about 30 businesses in attendance. It's interesting because I was really worried about that program kind of crashing and burning with COVID and the pandemic, but it just continues to survive. So going to be placing Charles Page High School seniors in state internships this year through community partnerships. So that's another hooray. So we got to remember that there's a lot of positive things amidst the pandemic that we're seeing. And so just a little plug for the good news.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Durkee? We'll move on to item number 6 and talk about resource innovation.
Okay, so let's start with finance, and Mr. Morris, just jump in whenever you feel the need. As you know, October 1 is that magic count date. And so what we're seeing from really 2020, when the pandemic started till now, is a nice uptick in our enrollment, which is great. I put some numbers here, but just know that until October 1 settles, it varies from day to day as the enrollment center ladies, they just left, but they know that people still continue to roll in and want to enroll their students. I documented last week 4879. We are now at 4982. That was as of this afternoon. So again, clarity to know exactly how many won't happen until October 1 count, and then it'll be solid. And as you know, that directly affects our state aid and impacts our dollars for the district. I'll continue to subscribe to Vernon Florence as long as I can. He's a great source of information regarding state revenue and its impact on school funding, and specifically our job is to take that information and narrow it down to Sand Springs. The environment is unstable. As you know, we continue to have what's called a pandemic. Although today we were in the Tulsa Health Department meeting, and I think it's been reduced to an endemic, but Mr. Mullins, I would defer to your expertise, but I think it has been. It's just one of those things we're going to have to kind of learn to navigate for a while now. But it's lended itself to a shaky economy, as you guys very well know. It seems to be making a little bit of a rebound, but again, including if you think about the inflation factor with like building materials and supplies and all those things, they affect really our bottom line. And Mr. Morris will go over our budget later on, but we dipped into our fund balance this year in a pretty large way. So we were okay. We have a healthy one. I know you were worried specifically about excessive carryover. We never were over the top at all. But you can only go expenditures beyond revenue for a certain amount of time, and you've got to start narrowing. So we're on top of it, just so you know. Roof repairs, you'll continue until those are all done from the hailstorm to get the Trimco data that shows you what's being done. So we're well on the way. As you know, there was a delay a little bit because of the OSIG report that was really unidentifiable with where those roofs were at. So Ms. Kabach is on top of that and things are going really well. And of course, you know, that was covered mostly by our OSIG insurance group. Let's see. I cannot wait. Mr. Mullins had the luxury at the end of OSSBA to come see the remodel, but today, actually yesterday, I didn't go in today, but we're getting close to completion. They said October-ish will be when it's ready. I was in yesterday and they were laying tile, it's not called tile on the walls. There's a name for that. They'd remodeled the public bathroom. It looks phenomenal. It's all painted. The carpet hadn't gone in yet, but it's getting super close. And as you know, that's going to be providing a really nice complement to our strategy for enrollment with parents. So they can plunge to the front of that building, go in and see the enrollment center and the lovely ladies that you saw tonight, and then head right into child nutrition and then get Chromebook checkout happening all in one fail swoop. So personally, I think our team is really excited about that piece for the public. And then I just wanted to give you a heads up. We've been talking about an energy management system for a while now. We finally went through just some help from a couple of people that serve as kind of experts that do energy management for a lot of people. And Jeannie Kavach, honestly, Ryan Danner is the lead on that from our IT department, and they have sent it out for bid. So we'll be bringing a recommendation for the next board meeting. Of course, that's also paid with stimulus money as well. So that's a real coup for us. It'll allow us to maintain temperature across the district at our policy temperature rate and hopefully allow us to save some dollars with that system. So just wanted to let you know about that as well. So unless there's questions.
Any questions for Ms. Durkee on resource innovation? Thank you for that information. Move on down to number 7, talk about empowering families and communities.
Absolutely. So dialogue was aired Thursday. That was an interesting little piece. I say it's interesting because we pre-recorded because it was impossible to get our team together on Thursday night, which ended up being great. So we sent out a Google form. Thank you, Lisa. So parents could ask questions. There were 4 or 5 that were submitted. The tricky part, because it was about our health guidance, honestly, was the judge's injunction, as you know, came out last Wednesday, right before we pre-recorded. So within about 30 minutes, I went back to the drawing board, created a little bit of a different slideshow, prefaced it with, we just had this information, here's what we're doing now, and then tried to explain what the injunction was. It's posted, so if you're interested, you certainly can go back and look at it, but just wanted parents and our patrons to know, number one, where we're at, little teeny bit about the data we're seeing, and then, of course, changes that could potentially have been based on new information. And by the way, the injunction has not been filed yet, so our team is waiting until I can at least read the words to see exactly what that means. So we're a little bit on hold about that. But that was a really big trick to get that accomplished last week. Again, got to mention Lisa Chittister. She has done amazing. She's managing all of our social media accounts, contributing to our website, handling media calls. That's a big deal. Timely, because a lot of times when they would call, I wouldn't be completely available at the time. So it's been really great to have someone in the ranks that is helping beautifully, by the way, word responses to things that they call and ask on the fly. So just, she needs some kudos that I can see maybe an award, a board award coming. We'll see. So I appreciate her perspective. So unless you have questions.
Any questions for Ms. Durkee? Please, we'll move on to health and safety.
And safety. So of course, the big topic is coronavirus. And this is entering the 3rd full year. So I attached a letter from Chief Hoskin. I'm going to say that wrong. Just let you know what the tribes are doing, or at least one of them, in regard to their response for COVID, to give you a perspective about different pieces of the population, the people, and their perspective on it. We talk about it all the time, by the way. That's a topic that can't remember a day, frankly, since March of 2020 that we haven't had a conversation about COVID-19. We are complying with Senate Bill 658 at this point again. The injunction was filed. I want to see it. We are keeping some really good data, just so you know. So I shared with you all the rate of infection from required quarantines last year. I mentioned that it was 1.27. We're right at 2% this year with the same data, but not quarantine, with the quarantine notifications, which is different. One of the things our district will continue to do is making sure that if there's a positive case at school, we're notifying people. So, you know, if you have your parents that have kids in school, you may or may not have already received a notification that said, hey, there was a positive case at school. Trying to keep families informed of good decisions for their own children. I've been pleasantly surprised. I looked at the data today, and about 10% of our patrons are choosing to self-quarantine. They don't get in trouble for attendance or anything like that. We're treating them much like we did last year in terms of, it's called DBAP, but it's an attendance leniency for making up work and such. So we're continuing to do that, but we have about 10% that are choosing to quarantine, which I actually am pleasantly surprised. I wasn't sure how that was going to go over, honestly. But our cases are still remaining relatively low. If I was to, again, after 3 weeks of data, that's not sufficient, really, in my opinion, to offer any kind of strategy change. But what we are seeing is a little bit more transmission probably in the elementary setting than we were last year. It's interesting because if you look at the data, we have one case at Charles Page High School, including the freshman academy, that have come back positive from a notification of quarantine. So it doesn't feel like that might be correct, but we can only go by what people are reporting. So I feel like it's going okay. We have shut down one class of third grade for 1 week due to lots of absences and people self-quarantining. So we shifted that class to distance learning for 4 days. And so we'll see. We're playing it case by case, class by class. The two triggers, I've been asked that question a lot, is really about can we staff it? Do we have a teacher to facilitate class? And what does the student attendance look like? Those are the two triggers for me. And Angela Hobson is sitting in the audience, and of course Angus Valley was the one. And so we talked a lot last week to kind of see where they stood. And so it's working right now. I guess, you know, it's one of those things that just change on a daily basis, honestly. And so our cases were trending down. We had a little bit more this week. So it's just, you know, kind of a roller coaster. The actual form we keep the data on has personal information on it. So we wouldn't share that. We're sharing the weekly data that Lisa's putting out for everyone to see. So I just am here to assure you we're keeping on top of it. So I attached also a Q&A from, where did it go? Hopefully I did. Oh, on the mask ruling, the court ruling. And then you saw a Q&A for Oklahoma Public Schools that was put out by the Oklahoma State Department of Health alongside the State Department of Ed. So we had a statewide meeting last Wednesday. There was some confusion, I think, to put it mildly, regarding, you know, the how, what, when, where, which is another reason we're stepping back and really trying to understand what the expectation is. So more to come. We'll be talking about this probably every single board meeting from now till the end of the year. So, and of course, I would absolutely take any questions that you guys might have about our protocol.
When the class gets the notification and stuff like that, and if a child determines they want to stay home, do we reach out to that child with lesson plans and things like that?
Right.
I know it can't be virtual for 1 or 2 students if they choose to.
Well, teachers do it differently. It's interesting because at the elementary with the littles, the pre-K through even grade 3, that's just hard for them. And we're not going to leave them online all day long. So it varies from teacher to teacher. You're going to see some variation in teachers going online to doing work packets, but we're making sure we're connecting with them to try to keep them up on their work. That's a design. I mean, even swift shifting to our virtual teacher that will be handled through Jay's department, that's great. But we still want to make sure the kids are staying on track of where the regular ed teacher is in the classroom, because we know we're gonna have some people that vacillate in and out, and just trying to accommodate parents who choose that route. It's been tricky, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a tough road, not just for Sand Springs, but across the country. Honestly, that shift has been difficult for people. I personally think we're doing a really good job. It doesn't come without some stress at the site level, that there's no doubt. Well, all levels, not just at this side. There's a little bit of stress that is happening across the board, but we're doing it and we're gonna get better for it. So I don't think I put note in here about, we started an ambassador program, and basically, some of steal your thunder, Sean, but basically we put an opportunity for teachers to apply. We're calling them ambassadors, virtual ambassadors. And what that means is this year, with a stipend, they'll spend some time training for doing asynchronous, am I saying that right? Instruction, meaning online and in class at the same time. The idea is you train some people very effectively, and then the next year we pay a stipend for teachers to actually do that if we have numbers that maintain at the rate we're at. We started out school this year. When our teachers came back, we had 7 students signed up for elementary virtual. And before school started, it had jumped to 50. What do you have?
For 62 today.
We're at 62 today. So there was an incredible jump, meaning we had to adjust. And so that's what we've done. We just need to build capacity. So going into next year, if that's the case, we can be a little bit more ready for it. So questions?
Thank you for that information. Welcome. We appreciate that. Moving on to the consent agenda items. Anybody see any item that they want to bring to our attention? There is a voluminous amount.
There's a tremendous amount. Mostly you're seeing a lot of people regarding committees. And so all of them are listed. Thank you, Sean. That was a lot of work. And I think Kristen, I'm not sure who all has, they all have committees that they chair.
That is one of them as well. I see your name on one of these.
Right, exactly. Let's see, surplus property is not new, but just know that the old Central Ninth Grade Center kitchen, we've surplused all the remaining items in that space. There were a lot of things that were not needed that needed to go, actually. So those will be surplus for bid and then disposed of appropriately once those are, if they're left. Beyond that, the other new item that you haven't seen before is now item number 27, and that's our employee recommendations for the after-school learning program. So that's the after-school extended learning time for Limestone, Angus, and Pratt Elementary. And mobile hotspot, item number 41, or the mobile hotspots we talked about last month. That contract is also on the agenda on consent. And Carrie, I don't know if you want to talk about item 45 regarding the MOU for the agreement between OU and Sand Springs.
Sure. So I had an individual from OU's pre-ETS program reach out to me. ETS is Employment Transition Services. And so it's just another piece in that puzzle. There are 2 teachers from OU Tulsa who work to serve students with disabilities so that they can be placed in jobs after high school. And so they will come out and they will teach classes in all of our special ed English classes. So in 10th and 11th and 12th. And if I recall, it's a 2-year program. So it's like they'll teach all 3 of those groups something this year, and then it's like a second module next year. So it's just another piece in that puzzle. We do such a great job of getting our students ready for employment, but we're not seeing a huge employment happening after they graduate from high school. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can so that maybe even before they graduate, we can say these are the students in our special education department that now have jobs in the Sand Springs community. So
Another step in the right direction for those kids.
Can I just comment that
Yes.
doing the HR's forum that I just want you to know through ICAP, and I know that she talked about it just a minute ago, but we have kids, ICAP kids that are working at the daycare. We have kids that are at Charles Page High School that are working at the after school programs. We have kids that are working at transportation. We have kids that are working in 21st century. So, yeah, when you say we're one of the largest employers in Sand Springs, That includes, several of our high school kids. So they're everywhere and they're learning.
Put your money where your mouth is. I mean, so if we expect our community partners to do it, we should be doing that too. So that's very cool.
Can you just address item 42? Just, I'm curious of what happened to the lobby guard. I know that program went very well for us, but there must be something that works better.
Well, lobby guard is not manageable because you can't get service to those machines. So it's creating a burden. I will say Sean Parker, when he was here before, was kind of meticulously kind of fixing the software, but then you can't do that anymore. So most districts have shifted. This particular company, Tina vetted, the city of Sand Springs was paying for lobby guard through Vision 2025 or something, or 2020, and that that money's gone. And so this is something that we're taking on as a district, just because we should be scanning licenses when visitors walk in the building. So it's another protection for our
Does
kids,
a background check on you with your driver's license, similar to what lobby guard does?
for visitors. Yeah. Other than that, I think we're almost to the place where every single person in the district has a background check with.
Yes. From close to, which isn't unusual. There's 30,000 in the state of Oklahoma. And we are down to, I think, like 10 people, and they have till the end of this year, but I keep emailing them. So
I think we have till June of 22 to be in full compliance. So that department's done, Kristen's done an amazing job getting all that done. It was a little bit of an expense to the districts. We paid for all of them, to the tune of at least 20,000. How much was it total?
it's probably $20,000.
$1,000 it
And we
cost us.
pay for new employees too, which is $57.25.
We were, well, I had to get a background check, as did Stan Trout and Kristen Arnold, and our office went to get a background check, because when we were employed, it wasn't a thing.
Well, obviously they don't work.
I know.
It took a while for mine to come back and I was like, what's happening?
Right, ours was another street, which was allowable, but now that's not
Right.
allowable. So that's.
We don't have to.
Help it.
Trouble.
That's 57.25.
Any other questions for Rich Turkey?
A few more things, Mr. Mullins.
We got one after you finish. up.
Yeah, 46 and 47 are atypical because we didn't receive an invoice back in the year that those two were due, based on a problem with their accounting system. And so Greg can explain it further if you have questions, but we owe them money, so we're going to go ahead and pay them what we owe them. But they just didn't give us invoices in the years that they purchased. We purchased those things. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Yeah. Mr. Noggle, do you have a question?
Yeah, on 21.
Yeah.
Out of state travel for this weekend.
Correct.
So,
I don't miss somebody.
no, I think we're all good. I'm curious as to the bus driver situations and what's going on, because I know for a fact someone cannot drive from here to there, be at the game the whole time, and then
And drive back.
drive back.
A 2-hour stint for sure. Excuse me. I do know they onboarded a bus driver to do that. That's not a coach. We asked the coaches to get their CDL, and that's a very tedious process.
Right.
I can ask that question.
I'll just make sure
We have drivers that are not coaches.
yes, but I mean, we're fine with,
Oh, yeah.
we have
yes.
enough drivers going
Yes,
to the game and back that we're not gonna be.
yes.
be on the
I'm
road.
saying that right now because I'm just gonna tell you, COVID has hit our transportation department pretty hard. So right now, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from Mr. Turkey on the consent agenda item? I will entertain a motion to approve the item listed in the consent agenda
I'll make the motion.
by Mr. Novel, and then second by Jackie Wagon. Further questions or discussion? Call for a vote to approve the consent agenda items as listed, please.
Good.
Aye.
Novel.
Aye.
Wyatt. Aye. Wagers.
Aye.
Long.
Aye, item 49, the proposed executive session to discuss employment of a number of positions. Seeing no desire, we'll move to item 50, and I'll entertain a motion to employ the people listed for the position shown in item number 50.
I'll make the motion.
I'll take it.
Motion in a second. Any questions or discussion? Call the vote, please.
Gann.
Aye.
Knobel.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Waiters.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye. Item number 51. Placing the proposed approval for the first revised budget for the 21-22 school year.
I'll make a motion with approve. Oh, sorry.
You can make a motion. Man. So I will be quick because we're moving along very quickly. So, if you'll just quickly turn to the, general fund, page 11, summary of estimate of revenues. I think that is one of the most telling pages you're going to see. If you look at it, and I want to direct your eyes to line 3210, foundation and salary incentive aid, because you actually get to see what the state of Oklahoma has done with Sand Springs Public Schools. If you look, you'll see actual fiscal year 1920, we collected almost 18.9 million in state aid. The next year, last year, we collected just under 16.2 million. That is a precipitous drop of $2.7 million just in state aid. Our fund balance went down because of that. I will tell you, we tried our best to manage back to zero, but it was just not going to happen. That's the reason why you see a $1.3 million drop in the fund balance. But we lost just 2.7 million just in state aid. Now that doesn't include all the other categories that we actually took a hit in as well. I just wanted to point that category out to you. So the way the first revised budget is set up is basically what we anticipate receiving next year, which also includes towards the bottom almost $8.574 million. I have put in there that we will receive all of the ESRA and ARP funds this year, which means we would spend all of them this year, which we will not do. We
On purpose.
has no intention of spending all that, but I have put it in there as a revenue source to show that we will receive it if we decided to do so. Okay. And we have 3 years to spend it, is that correct? Yeah, well, they're stair step. There's two funds, and there's an extra two and then the ARP fund. And one of them has until 2023 and one of them has until 2024. Okay. The larger one until 2024, which is $5 point some million for that. Okay. If you go to the expenditures page, like I said, I'm gonna cruise very fast. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. You'll notice that what I've done is I've set it up so that we could spend all of the money that was going to come into us, as I always do. Again, Ms. Darky and I will manage to what's happening. We have tighter controls this year on what's going on with what's happening in state aid. Our state aid did go up from my first budget. I forgot to tell you that went up from about 16.1, 16.2 up to 16.9-ish. Okay, so we did see an increase. I do kind of laugh when they say the State Department like to say, well, we increased your revenue. I'm like, no, I point back to 2 years ago and say, no, thank you. But it is what it is. And so, as I tell Ms. Starkey, I managed to what we received, not what I wish we could receive. So I have set the budget up in accordance with that idea that this is what we were going to receive or what we have available to us in our funds and ESSER funds and what I feel is going to come in. And I've set us up to basically zero budget, spend all of it. Okay. On the next page, Fund 12, it's about the same. It's the same scenario. The only difference was our revenue did go up a little bit compared to the original budget, and that was due to Title III, 4281 on that one. It went up about $34,000 over what I was anticipating. So we actually received a little bit more money than what we were anticipating, and so then I did drive that down to the bottom line so that I'd have it available to spend. If you go to fund the building fund, Fund 21, that's another one of our funds that we have a nice balance in. We have spent some of it over the last year or so, specifically the Angus Gym was where
Do that. We need it.
it was happening. So it did take our fund balance down some, but we were anticipating that. And so it's nothing unforeseen has happened in the building fund other than a little bit of a drop in the revenues that we saw last year as compared to prior years. So,
If the building utilization fund develops like it's supposed to, we should have increased revenue in that fund, hopefully.
we're hoping. I follow the rule of conservatism. I don't count it till I really know it's not. I've got a 90% feel for it, and I don't have that yet. I really want to see something from the State Department, but I do anticipate it coming in. If it does, it's about, was that
$100,000.
$300,000?
No, I think it's about 600. I think it'll boost.
No, it's 400 or 500,000. Yes,
I think it takes it up to maybe 2.4.
yeah,
No, that's not true. 1.4 million.
yeah. It could go. It just depends on where they end up landing. So, child nutrition fund, there wasn't much in change in the child nutrition fund from the original budget. Pretty much stayed static. We didn't see much changes in what we were anticipating from our original budget. Funds 31 through 39 are bond funds or GO bond funds. We collected 6.145 billion this year, early this year. That was most of that was used, except for 2 million was available for us to spend. The rest of it was to pay for Northwoods and our ice freshman academy, and to pay the lease revenue bonds on those. And then I've set ourselves up with the ability to spend the rest of it if we so desire, which again, we'll manage to the tune of what we need and what's best for the school district. The sinking fund is what the sinking fund is. It's set up based upon our estimate needs, which I'll discuss in just a second, and set up to pay the GO bonds. And then the last page is your gift and endowment fund, your workers' compensation fund, and the insurance fund. The insurance fund's a new fund. We've collected $6 on roofs. We have spent quite a bit of that paying for roof repairs and getting some of that work out and everything. Other than that, any questions? Or anybody have any questions? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the first revised budget for the 21-22 school year.
I'll make the motion. So,
You have a motion and a second. Is there further questions or discussion? Call for vote, please.
Jen.
Aye.
Knuckle.
Aye.
Wagon. Aye. Wagers.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye. Item number 52, please walk us through the estimate of needs. The estimate of needs is a pretty standard form that's done by our auditors. It lists out each bond fund. I'm not going to go through each of them. I mean, it would be kind of boring. The big thing that comes out of estimate of needs that I think is important for this board to know is that our net assessed value went up. We were in 2020, we were $184.142 million in net assessed value in the district. This estimate needs came in and we were at $188.762 million, which gave us a $4.6 million rise in net assessed value in the district.
Thank you for the page number that's on.
Where is that? Okay, go to the, if you're going to look at that, you go to the next to last page of it, and it is scheduled, it should be scheduled Y, I think. Schedule Y, exhibit Y. You go to the very last page, and it will give it to you based upon Tulsa County and then our small portion of Osage County. And it shows the general fund, the building fund, mills, and then the total valuation, which I think is what you want to see. And the for Tulsa, we're 178.7, and for Osage, we're $10.0 million of valuation.
So you're looking at the very bottom number on page 2.
Yeah, and then the very bottom comes out at $188.6 million in total valuation district. The important thing for us, or at least for me in my mind, is that we continue to improve by at least 1%, because when we set our GO bonds in place 2-3 years ago, I can't remember right off. We said we would have a 1% growth rate. And so we need to maintain that 1% growth rate to be in compliance and be able to have the sinking fund available for these things. We were well over 2% growth in the district. I mean, not as stellar as I would love to see. I would love to see the 14 or 15% growth in a year. That would be unbelievably great, but it is what it is. But it is a steady growth, and so that guarantees that we are not only meeting what we need to be able to cover our GO bonds, we're actually exceeding it somewhat.
Which means our bond capacity would increase over time, which is great. We'd like to see more of the fact that we're growing more than what we've projected. That's very helpful in paying loans back, first of all. But then the next time the bond issue comes around, we have a larger net assessed value to borrow.
You remember what and estimated that growth would be if we're seeing a 2% growth. Did he estimate a 2% or more than that? No, 1%. I made him estimate 1%. That way I knew we would meet it and wouldn't have any problems. We could have probably done 2% and stretched for it and hoped that we didn't have a bad year. But why set ourselves up for a problem? you know, and so we estimated bonds at 1% growth, and we've exceeded 2% every year since that's been done, or at least every year since I've been here, I think.
It's been as high as 4,
Yeah,
actually.
it's the highest 4%, but we've exceeded 2% at least every year. So we are in a healthy position. So we had a point, and I will tell you, last year, approximately, years ago, the Tulsa County assessor was rattling cages saying that we were going to have a negative growth, and some CFOs got together and had a discussion with them, and that did not happen. So that was very good. So like I said, while 2.45% growth isn't what we would like to see, it's still better than what we could have anticipated. Do we have any tips that are going off the books in the near future that maybe will cause this to go up?
I don't think so, Mike. We have one that's,
Does the Walmart
just,
go up a few years?
I don't think it's close. I can't remember. Gary might have perspective. Yeah, but I don't think it's close. And then we just added Webco, the Star Center too. It's a trade-off though. I mean, yeah, you want to make sure your city grows because that's important for overall, for the good of everyone. I don't like TIFs any more than you do, but then there's a balance between a healthy growth rate for the city and what we can bond out.
That's all. Cool. Very good. Any questions for Mr. Morse and Ms. Durkee related to the estimate of needs? Call for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Call for vote, please.
Jen.
Aye.
Marvel.
Aye.
Blackman. Aye. Williams. Aye. Mullen.
Aye. Item number 53, I just want to let, before we all leave, we all have to sign this thing, so I'll start it as soon as it's over with, we can pass it down. Every time Greg will be in trouble if we don't. Yeah, I'll have to continue down, I'm sorry. Any other items, Ms. Durkee or board members that could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to posting this meeting?
There is not.
Quick meeting, I was thinking this is gonna last forever.
I will say though, announcements, notice we have the esteemed Gary Watson in our midst tonight, so excited about that. He's been coming to cabinet. It's great to see his face.
It's been a few months, but I will make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Jen.
Aye.
Marvel.
Aye.
Blackman. Aye. Williams. Aye. Mullen.
Aye. Thank you all. Thank you all very much.